Hey, hey, you guys, how are you? Hi. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So resentment. We're going to talk about resentment. Before we get into resentment, I'm just going to keep trying to do this. I have a YouTube channel, and I want you to go and subscribe to it. Okay? So yes, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Valley Beyond. And but resentment. I want to talk about resentment today. Have you ever had a resentment? Do you know what resentment is? You know, can can we afford to have a resentment? So I'm going to talk a little bit about resentment, and because I think that resentment keeps us, one of the things that keeps us out of the moment, out of bliss, out of, awakening is resentment, and often we feel that they're very justified. Have you ever felt justified in your resentment? That bastard did this, or how could they have done that to me? And so we hang on to it. Yeah, hey Krista, and we hang on to it. We're like, yes, and it even becomes part of our identity. And we have a whole victim closet full of things that we're resenting people for because they did something. So that's, where does resentment leave us? If you want to be free of resentment, where does resentment leave us? Resentment leaves us angry, separated, fearful. Yeah. So can we really afford resentment? I'm going to tell you a little story that happened to me last night. It's a personal resentment story. I got caught, and it was, and so I'm just going to share it with you what happened. My it was around my relationship with my son. So resentments often happen in close relationships, right? That's where they can happen, is in close relationships, and this COVID thing's going on, and we're planning to spend a little bit of time together on Boxing Day, and he's very concerned about that, but that was the plan, and has been the plan, and last night I was invited to one of my sponsees' homes. And I have people that I work with, and I spend time with them. They come to my home. We work through the steps. Sometimes I go to their home. We work through the steps. And my sponsor invited me over, and he was going to kind of feed me, and we're going to do some work together. And I had said yes. And then when I talked to my son later in the day, told him I was going, and he had a he was like, "Oh my God, you can't do that," And so I compromised. I did. I compromised in the moment. So my compromise led to a personal resentment. And it took me a little while to get past that, to see that it was me that had compromised. So I had a term, if you will. I had, I was like, this is what I do. I work with people, and it's my life. And I said okay, I won't do that. At my son's request. Hi, Brenda. But I ended up with a resentment, and I went to his place, and we had dinner, and I was pissed. I was. I wasn't very good company, and it took me a while to recognize that what had happened for me is that I had to keep peace, to you know to to keep peace, I guess. I had compromised. I had said, okay, I won't go do my work, which is what I do, in the recovery world, one-on-one. A lot of my work is one-on-one. And I won't go do that because you asked me not to, or he had asked me not to. And I was I was upset about that. I didn't accept it. I was, upset about it, and I compromised. If I had looked a little deeper, I would have said, you know what, this is, this is important to me, and I believe it's important to the man I'm working with, and I would have gone and done the work that I do, because that's where my highest value is, really. But I compromised because I wanted to keep the peace. And then I had a resentment, and now I'm free of it. I got it. It wasn't nothing to do with him. He was just saying what he wanted, and I didn't, tell my truth in the moment. I didn't pause. And so a resentment came up. Anyway, that's how they start. That's it, and that's what I wanted to share with you. So if you've ever had a resentment, look at where it started. Now, I wanted to read a little bit to you before I read from the daily book that I read from. Just a few minutes, just about resentments. We have a text called the Big Book, and it says here, after step 3. Resentment, it says, is the number one offender. It destroys more people than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease. From resentment stem all forms of spiritual disease. For we have been not only mentally and physically ill, but we had been spiritually sick. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. Isn't that amazing? In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, and principles with whom we had been angry. We asked ourselves, why were we angry? In most cases, we found that our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambitions, and our personal relationships, including sex, were hurt or threatened. So we were sore. We were burned up. So this is how we, deal with resentments, because everybody has a list of them, and in the 4th step, we get to look at them and let go of them, And it says to include that others were wrong as far as most of us ever got. The usual outcome was that people continued to wrong us and we stayed sore. Sometimes it was remorse, and then we were sore at ourselves. The more we fought and tried to have our own way, the worse matters got, as in war the victor only seemed to win. The moments of triumph were short-lived. It's plain that a life which includes deep resentment lead only to futility and unhappiness. To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the addict or the alcoholic, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, these business of resentment is infinitely grave. Resentments, it says, it's infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal. Resentment can be fatal. Imagine. That's awesome. Found that it is fatal. For when we're harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the Spirit. The insanity of alcoholism and addiction returns, and we drink or use. And for us to drink or use is to die. So that's the deal. Resentment. Hi, Kayla. Yeah, resentment, baby. And it's so subtle sometimes, because we feel so justified. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal people, but for alcoholics and addicts, these things were poison. For most of us, it's poison, For most of us, it's poison. Turn back to the list. We held the key to the future, prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. We began to see that the world and its people really dominated us. In that state, the wrongdoing of others fancied to realize the power to actually kill. How could we escape? We saw that the resentments must be mastered, but how? We could not wish them away any more than we could, drinking or using. Yes, hi Kayla. This was our course. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick as well. Though we did not like their symptoms and the way they disturbed us, like ourselves, they were sick too. Here, and then we have a little prayer in the 4th step. We ask God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, we said to ourselves, this man is sick. How can I be helpful to him? How can I be helpful to him? It's always back to how can I be helpful? God save me from being angry, thy will be done. We avoid retaliation. We wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy any chance or a chance of being helpful. We cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each one. There we go. Sometimes the phone rings when I'm on doing my thing. It does. So that's resentment. Resentment is, infinitely grave. We found it is fatal. So we have to be free of resentment. That's the bottom line. We have to be free of resentment if we're going to, live happily. And so it's a practice. It really is. And so when I had a resentment last night, it's easy to see where, somebody else is trying to control the situation or try to direct. But where did I go off the track, And that was, because it's me that was having the resentment. Where did I go off the track? And so that's what I did and got it cleaned up. Okay, we're going to read from today's, what is it, the 21st, my gosh, of December, coming close to the end of the year, the 21st of December. We're going to read from this little book. I never know, this is called the 24-Hour Day book, I never know what it's going to say. I really don't. Because I've never written it, hey, hi, Jason. Yeah, I got a resentment last night. I should have been with you for dinner. I did. I'm just sharing it. I don't know if you're listening, but I'm just sharing how how it turned out. Yep. Okay. Have I ceased being, this is the December 21st, the thought for the day. Have I ceased being inwardly defeated? Inwardly defeated, at war with myself? Have I given myself freely to the 12 steps and to recovery and to the higher power? Have I got over being sick inside? Now, hang on a second. I'm just going to reach my glasses because it's for one reason or another, it's just not working for me today. There we go. I was just talking to a fella about these videos, and he's in the helping people build YouTube pages and business, and I told him that they're unscripted and unedited, and I said I think people like them that way, and anyway, because he spends hours on creating just the right content and the right, and I never know what the hell I'm going to say. There we go. Am I still, okay, have I gotten over being sick inside? Am I still wandering mentally, or am I on the beam? I can face anything if I'm sure I am on the way. If I am sure I am on the way. When I am sure, I should bet my life on God, on the 12 steps on recovery. When I'm sure, I should bet my life on recovery. I have learned how the program works. Now, will I follow it with all I have, with all I can give, with all my might, with all my life? Yes, sir. Am I going to let the 12 steps, principles guide the rest of my life? Yes. Spiritual principles, baby. Most definitely the human side. We can call it the human side. Kayla. But sometimes that can be a bit of a cop-out for me. I can say, oh, I'm only human, but I know better. And so not to blame myself or to be in remorse, but just say, oh, look, I got caught there. And then I have something to clean up, and hi, Laura Lee. Hi, honey. Then I have something to clean up, and and that call actually hasn't been made yet, but I will make that, and it's called our step 10, we're taking daily inventory, and when we're wrong, promptly admitting it, and so that we're not dragging stuff from one day to the next, so meditation for the day. In this time of quiet meditation, follow the pressure of God's leading. of spiritual leading, of divine's leading, of the Lord's leading. In all decisions to be made today, yield to the gentle pressure of your conscience. Stay or go as the pressure indicates. And that's where, right there is in last night's decision that I made, I didn't pause. And that's the key, is to just pause and listen. I made a decision based on, wanting to keep the peace. And but it wasn't really what needed to happen last night. Anyway, take the events of today as part of God's planning and ordering. He may lead you in the right direction. He may lead you in the right decision. Wait quietly until you have the inner urge, a leading or feeling that a thing is right, a pressure on your will by the Spirit of God. It's beautiful, nicely described. How do we know when we're hearing the voice? Because we're listening for, to become God conscious, eh? And the other thing about my little situation last night that I just shared is that in many ways is perfect. It helps me to see myself. It helps me. It was good. It's not. I can't say that there's anything wrong or right about it. It was just, I see. It was another awakening for me to see my own behavior. Prayer for the day. I pray that today I may try to follow the inner pressure of God's leading. I pray that I may try to follow my conscience and do what seems right. He uses try quite a bit. I'm going to read it without it. I pray that today I may follow the inner pressure of God's leading. I pray that I may follow my conscience and do what seems right today. So I just took out the word try. Okay, so that's the reading. We actually had 2 readings today. And now we're going to sit together and meditate for a few minutes. Is that okay? I'd like to have you join me for, a few minutes and just, the whole idea for me in supporting, whoever comes to watch in this meditation thing is that my experience is that I get closer, if you will. If there's no way of getting closer. It's just, or I have more awareness of my experience of, let's try that, of my relationship with a higher power, with God, with infinite intelligence, with the moment, when I meditate. So meditation has been very helpful for me. I feel the sneeze coming. Hang on a second. Have you ever... It's not going to happen. That's great. So let's just sit. Find yourself a comfortable spot. We're going to meditate for a few minutes. Not long. You can do this. Lots of times people say, I can't meditate. My mind won't stop. Well, nobody said it was going to. Just you let it go. The idea is to not be attached, to not go with it. So it isn't that the mind won't stop, it's that we begin to see that we are not the mind. You are not your mind. You are not your thoughts. I am not my mind. I am not my thoughts. There's a part of me that actually observes my mind. And when you see that observer, and you recognize that you are the observer, and you are even observing the observer, so you're beyond the observer. And as we see that, we recognize, I'm not my thoughts. That's not me. That's a tool. It's my mind and my thoughts. Where do they come from if it's not from me? Well, they kind of have legs of their own. So just let them go for a few minutes. Even if they come up with something that seems really important, it will wait. Just let it go. Just say, okay, I'll be back to you in a few minutes. You can even talk to your mind. Just say, I'll be back. That'll wait. We begin to surrender our thoughts, to let them go. As we drop in with the breath, we begin to surrender also any idea of ourselves, any name we have that we call ourselves, just let it go. Any label, any identity that we have, just let it go. The identity of maybe victim, maybe successful, maybe failure. Just let those identities go. They're just a story. Nobody's successful. Nobody's a failure. We let go of our attachment to our body. Recognize the body is not us. We are not our body. It's a vehicle. Just like the mind is not us, the thought is not us, the body is not us, what we do for a living is not us, what we have planned for the future is not us. It's all our experience. We are not our experience. Just be here now, in this moment, free. True freedom is in this moment. True freedom is freedom from the story of who we think we are, who deep down we know we're not. If thought comes, just come back to the breath. Come back to the breath. Just come back when you're ready. Thank you for joining us today for our talk and our reading and our little meditation. Wow. Just feel the stillness in that meditation. It's beautiful. Thank you again. Just want to remind you to reach out and, connect with people. Lots of people sitting home. Lots of fear around. Love melts fear. Just share your love. Make those calls. Say hello. Okay. Yeah. We don't have to fix anybody. Just love them and listen. Okay, you guys, love you. Thank you.